the Developer Student Clubs at McMaster University. This is our first workshop that we're hosting. And the topic today is creating an effective GitHub profile. Just a few notes before we get started. This meeting is going to be recorded, and it's going to be you're going to be emailed the YouTube link after in case you miss anything. So just that you're being aware that it's going to be recorded. Yeah, so we're really excited. Let's get started. So these are the speakers for this workshop today. Miranda Harrison, that's myself. I'm one of the co-leads for the workshops and talks team. The other speaker for today is going to be Shardul Patel. He's the other co-lead for the workshops and talks team, as well as Jessica Lim, who's our junior co-lead. All right, so these are the topics that we're going to go through today. We're going to start out really basic. Just talk about what is GitHub, why is GitHub important, and why should you use it. Next, we're going to go on to how to create a profile README and kind of tell you what the README is. After that, Shardul is going to go into the best practices for hosting GitHub repositories and how to contribute to open source. And lastly, we're going to show you how to host a basic personal website directly through GitHub. Yeah, really exciting stuff. So let's get started. If this stuff is familiar to you, we are going to go in a bit more advanced as we go on. This is just to give everyone the same baseline. So GitHub, what is it? I really like this picture here where it says GitHub social coding, because that's really what it is. So GitHub is one of the largest online coding community platforms. And to further go into the definition, let's break GitHub down. So the Git part in GitHub, it actually means something. So the Git is a versioning control system that's used to track modifications to your code or really any document. If you're someone like me, I've definitely done this before, you know, when you're working on a project or a program and you when you make a change, you like save it as a version 1, make a new change, save it as version 2, then version 2 final, version 2 final revised. So basically what Git does, it is aimed to eliminate that process, and you can store all of your changes in the cloud. And when it's stored in the cloud, it's easily documented with all of the changes that you made, and you can roll back easily if you want to go back to a version or undo something. So yeah, next is the hub part in GitHub. So this is where the community part comes in. So yeah, basically, when you upload a project to GitHub, it's stored on the cloud and it's shared with the world. And anyone who has a GitHub account can view your project, and they can contribute or make suggestions to your code. Of course, like if you upload a project, you do have supervision to who can make changes to your code, but anyone can make their own suggestions. Also, everyone has their own GitHub profile, which you can use as a showcase, which is what we're going to focus on in this workshop. So going on a bit more into like who uses GitHub and why should everyone use GitHub? So GitHub's used by lots of people, including developers, recruiters, and also enterprises. Enterprises may use GitHub internally, meaning their code is not posted publicly, but some enterprises do as well. So it's definitely a good platform to get familiar with. Also, your GitHub profile, your profile page acts as a live resume. And this is really important. I think it could be more effective than your actual resume. On your GitHub profile, you can showcase your personal or school projects. Like for example, I did some coding last year for one of my school projects, and then I uploaded that to my GitHub. You can share contributions that you've made to open source projects and view like millions of projects that people have uploaded. Connect with other developers, and most importantly, stand out to employers, which I think we all want to do. So let's take a look at a basic GitHub profile. So hopefully before this session, you would at least, you might already have a GitHub profile or you created a basic one. If not, that's okay. It's really simple. This is an example of a normal GitHub repository. A normal GitHub profile when you first start. I'm actually going to show you mine. It's pretty basic, but it just has all the basics that I want to show. Yeah, so this is my GitHub profile here. It's really important to upload a profile picture to your GitHub account. This gives you a more, so your profile picture shows up whenever you make changes to code and whenever you add new contributions. So adding a profile picture gives you more of a personal identity, which can allow you to make more of an impact. Yeah, so see, I have just some basic repositories here from hackathons and some of the projects I've done. It's really important to add your own name to match what it says on your resume, just so recruiters know exactly who you are. It's also good to put it like a simple bio. I'm not very creative. This is what it says, but you can put like your favorite quote or philosophy or something like that. So to actually add your full name, this is my name here, and this is my username. To do that, you actually have to go to these settings. You go to settings here. And then you change your name here. And you can also change your profile picture as well as the other information. Yeah, so that's a basic GitHub profile. Let me go back to the slide deck. So we're going to show you how to move your profile from something that looks like this. Oh wait, I think. Okay, Jessica, yeah, here it is. Okay. To something that looks like this. This is Jessica's profile. As you can see, it's a lot more colorful and exciting than mine. And I'm going to pass it on to her, and she's going to teach you how to make it look like this. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to take the screen now.
Yeah.
All right, can everyone see? Oh, that's not the right screen. My page here. Okay. So we're just going to do a bit more of super quick stuff for people who are just getting started with GitHub, and then we'll get into some more fun stuff. So Miranda kind of gave you an overview of what GitHub does, and GitHub essentially is a place where you can host all your repositories. So for those of you who don't know, what is a repository? So a repository is a folder that pretty much...
Wait, 1 second, Jessica. I still see your document screen.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Let me try that again then.
I don't know if it's just me, but...
Yeah, I think I just, I shared just a specific... Okay, let me try that again. Stop sharing. My bad. Okay. This one should be here now. Okay, cool. So what is a repository? So for those of you who don't know, a repository is a folder that you can pretty much use to store all of the code from your project. And it also keeps a revision history of your code in every single snapshot of time. So what happens is every single time you edit code on GitHub, it comes in as a commit. And that means if you ever make a mistake or want to go back and look at previous versions, it's super duper easy. So before we get started with anything too complicated, we'll just practice making a quick repository. So on your GitHub portfolio thing, you can just go to repositories and create a brand new one. So we can call it whatever we want. Let's call it first repo. And then you can make it public, which means everyone, or you can make it private. So for example, sometimes if I'm doing code for a school project, I'll make it private because I don't want other people copying it too early. And then you have a bunch of options here. And you can create a repository, which ends up being, when it loads, just a big fat folder. And you'll see this is a README. And when you open a repo, this is the first thing you'll see. And from there, I can either upload code from my computer, or I can just add a file right now, create a file, and then store all of my code here so that if anything ever happens, it's always there. So now that we know what a repo is, let's go on to something kind of more exciting. So, all right, so now that you have your GitHub, you know what a repository is, how can you make your profile more interesting? So as I just showed this example repository, this is what your home screen looks like, and I'll show your popular repositories and your contributions, but it's not very exciting, and you can actually make it a lot cooler. So GitHub, about 4 months ago, I think at the beginning of May, announced a brand new feature that is actually profile README, which on your direct profile, so the minute someone goes to your GitHub profile, they'll be able to see this canvas that says what you want. So now add a README instead of just your direct department and make it on your own. I'll show you how to do that right now. So what is a GitHub profile README? So a README is the first canvas that anyone will see in a repository, and they're a great opportunity to summarize your project, explain any setup steps, or provide instructions on how to contribute to whatever your repository is. And Shardul will actually talk more about contributions later. But beyond that, profile READMEs are really cool because you can use it to show off your own personality and accomplishments. Because instead of being on a repo, it's actually on your entire profile. So how do you make a profile README? It's actually super easy. All you have to do is create a repository matching your account name, create a README file, write whatever you want on Markdown, and automatically publish that file. So this is confusing. We're actually going to go through it right now. And it's actually super simple. So the slides are in the chat right now if you'd like to follow along. But I will share my screen again. And we will go back to that old repo. So right here, this is my profile that I created pretty much just for that workshop. So remember how we made a this shows up. All right, so before we were able to call our repository whatever we want, and this time we're going to actually match our name. So the name here is Mac DSC. So whatever your GitHub name is, do the same. And you'll see right here, there's this pop-up that you found a secret. So this is a special repository README to your GitHub profile. So we're going to just follow these steps, add the README because it can do that, and then I'm going to create a repository. So make sure you match the name and match it case sensitive, or else it will not work, and you should get that special little icon that shows up. All right, I'm gonna make sure people, someone just asked if they are muted, and yes, they are. All right, so right here, you can see my README, and let's make it a little more exciting there. So for those of you who don't know what Markdown is, it's pretty much English, with just symbols to make things look different, to bold text, etc. So let's just copy one of these things. So this is going to be your profile, what everyone sees. So let's say I'm currently learning how to use GitHub, and maybe I'll use a link that says click here, and then I can make this link to whatever you want. So this is what I had it on before, so you can just have some fun here. And then so now that we're done, you're just going to commit change. Oh, I forgot to mention, you can also preview what that change is going to look like. And now, as you can see, I created a README. So now if I go all back to my first pro to the top and I typed in github.com, let's not go to the repository. Let's actually go to my whole entire profile. So you can see that README is going to show up right here at the top. and underneath will be my repositories and all my contributions. So it can be super simple or as complicated as you want. And even here you can see you can link to other things. So let's go back to the PowerPoint for a bit. So does anyone have any questions about that so far? You are free to unmute or write in the chat about how to create it to begin with. Yes? No? All right, I will continue then. Feel free to unmute or ask a question if you have one. I pressed share and not present. All right. So your profile README can actually get a lot more, can actually make it really cool. So what you can do with a GitHub profile is you can actually make it so that other people can interact with it or that it automatically updates. One of the easy ways to do that is to use GitHub Actions. So this is not exclusive to profile READMEs, but I found that they're actually super helpful and really cool. So if GitHub is new to you, you can start with simple, but if you want a challenge, think of using GitHub Actions. And pretty much what you do is you add a workflow to your directory, and then it can get activated by any of the GitHub Actions. So as we, if you know, or maybe if you don't, I'll show you in a second. You can make pull requests, you can open issues, you can commit code. All of that can actually activate a workflow and can cause code to change, which means without even doing anything, GitHub will run your README and change it over time. So if that is complicated, we'll actually try another demo there. So instead of going to that other repo, we're actually going to go to mine now. So I showed mine before, but I'll go over it again just to kind of show what is possible with a GitHub profile README. So with my README, there's all these links, just like I showed you before. I talked about who I was, but then I also created this word cloud here where any person in the world who comes to my profile can actually interact with it. So in this case, you can see that you can click this and add your own word or shuffle the word cloud. And all of these people contributed in this cloud. I actually updated a day ago, so there's not that many people. If you go and look in the past, you can see all these different people have contributed to like a variety of different clouds I've made, which is super cool because that's a way you can interact with the other people in the coding community. So anyways, beyond that, GitHub Actions are what allows me to people add a word and automatically regenerate it. So let's go into a bit more of the specifics here. It's being kind of slow. All right, so if you open a repository, so this is any repository, if it can be a GitHub README repository or a normal one, you'll actually see this that says GitHub Actions. So in GitHub Actions, which I'm clicking now, all right. At some point it will load. But with GitHub Actions, you can actually check out every single action that happens. So here you can see that different people would open issues with these names, and I didn't have to be active or do anything at all, and other people. So 1 minute ago, Blake Freer shuffled the word cloud, which means it automatically ran this GitHub action. Let's actually look at it. And you can see there's just a bunch of steps that are run, and they're essentially just steps of my code. So you can see all of these things happen, which is kind of pretty cool. And it's just code that runs without me having to do anything at all once I write it the first time. You can see all these steps here that automatically. And setting that up is super easy. I probably should have showed that first, but everything's being slow. Okay, so I mentioned before that you make a GitHub workflow. So yeah, you can see right here that someone actually just opened an issue and shuffled it, and it regenerated without me having to do anything. If any of you guys are on my profile right now, you guys can also just press this add your own word and you can see everything happen, because all that happens is you open an issue and it will do everything for you. So you don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything. It's pretty cool. But how it works is you just need to make a .github folder and then make a workflows folder. And then pretty much, let's go with a word cloud one right here. And sorry, everything's very slow. And you can see right here that all I have is that when an issue is opened, all of this will run, and this is just the code that's already in my repository. So I have some resources later on that will give you more details on how to create the action itself. But as you can see, it's pretty simple because this is kind of all a bunch of different stuff, but essentially it's on issues, this open, and then I literally run one of my commands from this file that is in the repository. Yeah, so I'm not going to go super in depth into the actions itself because that can definitely get a bit more complicated. But as you can see, even my README page right here is just, it's literally just marked down. So what I was showing you before, where it is literally, hi, I'm Jessica. This is a link. This is a link. Welcome to my profile. And that's things that you guys can easily do and will only take you a few, maybe an hour out of your day. So let's continue. How do you create a folder? So how do you create a folder in a repository? So you have a few options. Personally, I don't work directly on GitHub because I work outside of GitHub, like through my command line or through VS Code or whatever you want. And then I upload all of the files. And I think Shardul goes a bit into how things can work there. But you can also just upload files. And when you upload files, I think you should be able to upload a folder. But unless you're creating these kind of folders here for a basic profile README, you don't need a folder because the repository is made for you and all you need is a readme.md. I just added more folders because it helped me organize things and mine got a little complicated. But I've never tried it before, but I wonder if you upload files, if you can upload like a whole folder. Yeah, I think you can just upload a whole folder there if that is what you want to do. Let me know if you have another question or if that answers it, Blake. Okay, so I will continue on for a bit and someone else can let me know if they have another. Yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm going too fast or too slow. It's a little hard to do when this is all online, but maybe the slide will load soon. Okay, cool. So that was a demo that we just did on how to make a slightly more complicated one. And from there, I'm just going to show some examples of cool profile READMEs you can do. So right here, this is Kat, who is a product designer at GitHub, and she was one of the first profile READMEs I saw because she was pretty much the one who announced it on Twitter. And as you can see, hers is very much so just like a profile of who she is. It gives a description of who she is, a link to a different site where she writes things she finds important, a bunch of like social links. So that's super easy to do. Really did that. Have a markdown guide later that will make it easy for you. To the right, you can see this is GitHub profile READMEs don't always have to be super professional. At the end of the day, it's kind of a canvas of who you are. It's not like a resume where you have to give something like legit or else they'll think you're kind of crazy. With GitHub profile READMEs, you can really just be creative. So in this case here, it's kind of cool because the icon's an acorn, and if you go to their site, this is literally what you'll see because the README is the first thing that pops up. Some cool other things. Here is also using GitHub Actions. This is actually a game of Connect 4. So Jonathan here made a profile README where anyone can just play Connect 4. So as you can see, there's 345 random players who have just been dropping connect 4 dots on his profile readme when they check it out. And then one example I found was how to automatically render different GitHub stats. So you can figure out what languages you use, all these GitHub stats, your most important projects, and these can actually be rendered automatically, so you don't have to update it on your own. GitHub can pretty much call its existing knowledge of your repository and make it show up, make it look cool, so that's the first thing everyone sees. All right, so that was a little fast, maybe. And if you have questions, you guys can also ask them now, and I'll try to answer them. But if not, this link is a step-to-step guide I wrote a couple months ago about how to make a GitHub profile README. So it goes over everything I went over before, gives you some other resources. If you don't want to read that, here are some other resources that are helpful. So a markdown cheat sheet, so it pretty much tells you put a $sign to make a big header, put stars if you want to make something bold, etc. And the cool thing about writing markdown on GitHub is it will actually show you while you're typing if you successfully made something a header or something, and you can preview it so you can see what your markdown will look like on an actual screen. And then adding emojis, because those are a lot of fun. Adding badges like the ones I had that link to GitHub, that link to like my personal website and LinkedIn. And then also a more comprehensive guide on how to use GitHub Actions. So this I find is a really
Uh-oh, did we lose Jessica? Jessica, can you hear
me? Either.
Yeah.
I thought it was just me.
Me too.
Yeah.
I honestly think this was her last slide.
Yeah, I don't know if she can hear us, but if Jessica, you can get closer to your rudder, or if you can move.
Oh, I think she dropped.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can go ahead and share my screen because yeah, I think it was her last. Hold up, I'll just share it. That's not okay. Is see my screen? Okay. I think yeah, should be working. Okay. So yeah, so profile readmes are a great way to add personality to your GitHub, but let's quickly talk about how you can show off your technical skills using repositories. So with GitHub, you have the option to basically upload anything that you can think of onto your GitHub. Now, ideally, you want to upload your course projects, your side projects, and hackathon submissions to your GitHub. Oh, you can't see yours?
Oh,
can you see it?
It's loaded now. I guess Zoom is
Can you see the presentation slide? Okay. All right. Yeah, so as I was saying, yeah, you'd want to upload your course projects, side projects, or hackathon submissions onto your GitHub. And I do recommend you guys to do as many hackathons as possible because they're literally the easiest way to get great projects onto your GitHub. So once you have those projects onto your GitHub, you want to make sure that you add a description to all of the repositories. And I know this is a bit of a trivial thing, but I've seen a lot of developers and fellow students that have their GitHub with basically a bunch of projects, but literally no description. And oftentimes, recruiters and other developers, they'll just quickly glance at your GitHub profile, and they won't be interested in your projects unless you put something that actually describes the project. So once you have a description, you also can't stop there. There's another step. You want to add a README file to each of your repository. And what the README file will allow you to do is that it can be used as a way to showcase your technical work. So you can go more in depth about what you did and what technologies you used. And also you can set up basically a section to guide the developers through a way to basically how they can set up the project onto their local machines. And to see an example of this, we'll just go ahead and quickly look at my GitHub. So as you can see, I have, sorry, does anyone have a question? Heard someone talk. Okay. Okay, I'll continue. Yeah, so as you can see, there's 6 projects that I have up on my GitHub. And each of these projects have a small description, and they basically tell you what the project is about. And if you go ahead and click on one of these projects, you can see in the repository, there's a readme.md file. And what GitHub actually does is it shows if you have a README file in your repository, it kind of displays it in Markdown, as Jessica mentioned before, right below your repository folder. And you can see here, I've included the technical details for this project, as well as the usage section. So if other developers want to clone this project and try it out on their local machines, they can just follow these steps. So that's essentially what you want to follow on your GitHub repositories. And with your main profile, you want to make sure that you highlight the work that you're most proud of. And also, you want to make sure that the programming language that you put on your GitHub basically show the experience that you have. So let's say if you're trying to go for a web dev role, ideally you'd want to have a few projects that highlight your JavaScript skills. So with each repository, GitHub actually highlights your most used language in that repository as a little thing at the bottom. It says JavaScript. So you can probably tell that this project used mainly JavaScript. So that's one way you can highlight that you have experience in a specific language. And once you have a lot of repositories, GitHub also allows you to customize your pins. So basically, it only allows you to show 6 repositories, but you can go on here, customize, and select the best ones that you think represent your technical skills, and you can select up to 6 or even less if you want. So that's pretty much it for repositories. This is a crucial part of your GitHub profile, and you do want to make sure that you highlight your best work on your main profile. If you're still confused about Git repositories and want to learn more about them, you can actually follow the link on these slides and get a refresher on Git. And also, I think someone mentioned it before, how do they add a folder to the repository? I think these guides will walk you through those. So you can follow one of these guides. One's command line. So if you're not familiar with command line, there's also a link for GitHub Desktop. And it basically just simplifies the process of pushing code and deploying your projects onto GitHub. So with that said, let's move on to contributions, which is the next part of our profile. So contributions are basically GitHub's way of showing how active you are as a developer. So they do that by showing this contribution graph. If I go back to my profile, you can see below the repositories, it shows the contribution graph. And basically what this tracks is your commits, your pull requests, and your issues that you create on your project, and also the other projects that you contribute to. And since this is on your main profile, you do want to make sure that you have contributions throughout the year. So while it's probably not realistic to have a fully green graph, it's nice to have some contributions, let's say about 100 contributions throughout the year. So that when you do apply for jobs, like recruiters can see that you were active and you've been developing for quite some time. So some of you may be wondering, well, how do I get contributions in the first place? Well, as I mentioned before, personal projects and hackathons are the obvious choice. A lot of people, what they do is, I've seen a lot of students, when they work on their course projects, they won't actually initialize their Git repository and beforehand. So what they'll do is, after the course is done and they're done the project, they'll actually initialize the Git repository and then they'll push it onto GitHub. And this is bad because it only shows on GitHub that you have one contribution instead of maybe getting like 3 months of contributions in if you initialize the repository before you started working on the project. So ideally, you'd want to start the repository before you start working, and you want to commit regularly. So you want to make sure that whatever feature you're working on or whatever small piece of code that you implement during a day, if it makes sense that it's part of one feature, that you make sure you commit and it can show up as a contribution onto your GitHub. So that's one way of doing it. And there's also open source. Now, open source, for those of you who don't know, is nothing but a project that anyone can contribute to. So a lot of projects. So GitHub is actually one of the biggest platforms that has tons of open source projects that actually look for help from students and experienced people alike. So even if you're a beginner developer, you can find a project that you can contribute to. But it might be kind of intimidating for people to get started on open source, especially if you haven't coded before or if you haven't had experience with open source. So we've actually put together a guide to walk you through your first contribution. So I do want to go ahead and show you that. If people can just follow this link on the slides, you guys can follow along and get your first contributions in. So I'll just wait a couple seconds for everyone to get their.
I also posted the link in the chat in case you don't have the slides open. Did Shardul drop, or was it just me having issues?
Dropped.
Oh no. Man, Zoom is having a hard time tonight. Okay, so let's wait 2 minutes. If not, I can take over.
Yeah, I actually have a quick question about GitHub profiles in the README. What is the DSC's opinion, or your guys' opinion, of GitHub READMEs over GitHub profiles? Because you can actually automatically generate a GitHub website using a template, which automatically pulls stuff from your GitHub into a website with tabs with it's like a web page. So what's the DSC's opinion over a GitHub README over a GitHub website, which automatically also creates a domain for you?
Yeah, so, okay, my personal opinion is that the GitHub profile, like the one you're talking about, it's a lot more like creating a personal website, because that's kind of essentially what it is. Whereas I like a GitHub profile README because it just showcases directly on my GitHub. So anyone who's looking at my code or who's looking at my contributions will see something else as well. Because the reality is that almost anyone who has a GitHub account has repositories, has projects, and the profile is a way to stand out. That being said, like, I have a personal website as well, and I keep both of them. But I just think they're both helpful because they serve different purposes. Like, a GitHub profile README technically could replace your personal website, in which case your personal website could be like a GitHub profile. So instead of creating a personal website, you could do GitHub profile. But I think that profile reads a slightly different purpose because it's just like a canvas for anyone looking at your actual contributions and repositories. But that's obviously just my 2 cents.
You hear me, guys?
Hello.
Hey, welcome back.
I'm joining back from my desktop. I think my internet just dropped randomly. So sorry about that. Just give me 1 second. I'll join through my desktop. Make sure.
Oh no, I think it's my turn to. My internet's gonna drop next. I feel it.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. If you guys have any more questions, go for it.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
So I got to the step to compare and pull request, but I don't have the option. Like, I have pull request, but I don't have compare and pull request. Is that the same thing, or?
Yeah. So actually, Shardul, once he's back here, we're actually gonna go through making a pull request, and like we're gonna explain what that is and stuff.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm back. I don't know why my video is just stuck. I'll just connect with audio. Okay, so
Dude, you look way better in video than the photo, bro.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'll keep my video off then. Okay. Share my screen. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so looks like some of you guys are already at the pull request step. But for those who haven't gone there, let's kind of go back and quickly just go over the steps. So as I was saying, basically to contribute to open source, there's only 4 steps, 4 really main steps that you need to know. The first is to creating a local copy of the original repository under your account, which is called forking a repository. And then the second step is creating a new branch. And what creating a new branch does is basically isolates your changes from the main branch. And this is just so that maintainers and people who are maintaining the main branch don't get conflicts with your changes that you've made. And then once you have a new branch made, you just want to make the necessary changes and just commit. And once you do that, we can bring our changes back to the original repository by creating a pull request. So let's quickly go through those steps. So what I want you all to do is just to fork the repository workshops. And this will create the local copy of your repository. Just give it 1 second. And as you can see up on the top right, it has created the workshops repository for us under our account. So, oops, let's go back. Okay, so that's first step. Second step, we'll just create a contribution branch and just create a branch. It'll show you the prompt. And just make sure you are on the contribution branch. Once you create it, it should automatically bring you to that branch. And then now what you want to do is go to that folder for this repository, for this workshop, and click on contributions. And then for this contribution, we'll just add our name into the contributors list. So go to the contributors MD, and you should see the edit file icon, and then just click on that. And this is basically the editor for GitHub. It only allows you to, I think, edit like files and do like basic stuff. It doesn't have all the features like autocomplete. So you probably don't want to use this when you're actually contributing to open source. But for this demonstration, it's fine if you just use this. So we'll just go ahead and add our name as a list item, and just make sure that you have added your name on a new line, because we'll probably get more people to contribute. And if you just delete this, it will actually create a merge conflict. So just make sure you add it on a new line. Once you add, and you don't have to add your name, you can also use your GitHub username. And once you have that, just type in your commit message so it can be Patel to contributors. And just commit your changes. So once you commit your changes, the way you see that prompt, compare and pull request, is if you go back to the original workshops repository, the main page of the repository, you should see a prompt saying compare and pull request. And basically, this is GitHub's way of basically showing that it already knows that this might be an open source project, and you've made the change, and you probably want to open a pull request. So go ahead and click that. Just make sure you see that. If you don't see that, there should be this option too, where you can just click on this pull request, and it should do the same thing. If not, you can go under pull request tab and start a new pull request. So I don't know if there's any questions. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and compare and pull request. And it should start a pull request template for us. So ideally, you would want to put a description of what changes you made under your pull request description. But for this demo, you can just leave it blank, and you can just click on create a pull request. And what this will do is it automatically should start a pull request from your fork repository to the main original repository. And that's essentially it for your pull request or your open source contribution. The next step is basically to wait for the maintainer, in this case, it'll be us, to merge your change into the main project. And yeah, that's pretty much it for your open source contribution. If you do go back to your profile, you can turn on your activity overview, and then you can see that DSC McMaster shows up under there as one of the organizations that you contributed to. So just make sure you have that activity overview turned on. Okay, so congrats, you have your first contribution in there. We do want you to keep contributing, and so we've actually on our repository page for the workshops, we've left the guide for this workshop just blank, or we haven't completed all the sections. So if you do want to go ahead and contribute to this guide, you can open up a pull request and basically follow the same workflow to contribute to our guide there. And if you feel like you're pretty much an expert at open source, you can go ahead and go to upforgrabs.net. And basically what this is, it's a website to find projects that are looking for help on open source. So it'll basically allow you to filter projects based on the language, the type of issue they're looking at, and the experience level. And also if you're not an experienced developer, you can also go ahead and go to the goodfirstissue.dev. And this website is basically helps you to find beginner issues. So usually issues are tasks that people post on their GitHub repository, and they allow you to see basically the upcoming or the things that they want to help with. So beginner issues will basically find tasks that are tagged beginner friendly. So you can go ahead and also go up to that site to view that. So that's it for your GitHub profile, but there's also the GitHub portfolio website that people can add on their GitHub. And usually this acts as an extension to your GitHub profile or your resume. And developers usually use this as a way of also showing off their web dev skills. And this could be just a link on your GitHub profile. So we'll quickly walk you through of how to create a portfolio website. So if you all want to go ahead and click on this link, just so you have the template open up here, and you can go back to your profile and click on repositories. And then what we'll do is just create a new repository for setting up our portfolio website on GitHub. And GitHub allows you to basically set up this free website but you do have to make it a special format. So in this case, it should be GitHub, your GitHub username .github.io. So we'll just quickly do that. Okay. And then this description could just be my portfolio website. Okay, and then just add a README, just following best practices. Okay, so once you have that, just make sure you follow this specific format, just so that people or GitHub actually knows that you want to set up a portfolio website. So once you have all this, just go ahead and create the repository. And it should set up the repository for you. Now, what you want to do is to set up the website template, you want to click on create new file. And we'll just call this index.html so that it serves the portfolio website directly. And we can go back to the template website that we opened, or template index.html that we opened, and just copied in the entire thing. And you can just paste it right here. Okay. And once you have this, so basically this index.html won't have everything on it. So like you'll have to you'll have to add your name and add your experience and everything in there. But just for this demo, just right now commit using this template. And right now we just want to set up the template and see the portfolio website, how it looks. So once you have that created, GitHub will actually automatically just push your index.html and create a website. It does take half an hour though for it to first initialize the index.html and put it on the CDN. So give it 30 seconds, or we'll have to obviously wait after this workshop is done. But basically you want to make sure one thing is go under settings and then go under options, and you should see the GitHub pages. And you want to make sure that the main branch is selected. If you have just created a GitHub portfolio or profile, usually it'll default to master, but we want to select a main branch because that's where we have our index.html file located, and you just want to save it. So make sure you do that. Make sure you change the branch. And once you have that done, what the index.html file is going to look like is this. So the address for the index.html file will basically be the same format as the repository name. So in my case, it will be github.io, but right now it probably, oh, that was quick. So as you can see, yeah, it already has set it up. I didn't expect it to be this quick. When I was testing it, it actually took me half an hour before, but I guess since I was using the same account, it already set up the CDN or the DNS for me. So yeah, if you don't see it, if you just see a 404, that's because GitHub is setting it up for you. So don't worry, it'll take about half an hour, but do make sure that you have the, under settings, you have the main branch selected. So that's it for the portfolio website. Are there any questions? Yeah, okay, works for you too, great. Okay, so let's go back to, so you can get pretty crazy with portfolio website. There's a lot of CSS libraries. There's actually JavaScript frameworks like React that you can use to create really fancy website. But we will save that for another workshop, and we won't go over it too much in this. So I'll hand it back to Miranda for our closing Q&A and other remarks. So back to you, Jessica.
Yeah, so thank you, Shardul, and thank you, Jessica, as well. And I also wanted to thank everyone for their patience with Zoom having a hard time tonight. Fortunately, I think it worked out in the end. I hope everyone has learned at least some new things about GitHub, and hopefully you'll be able to create an awesome GitHub profile. So this concludes like the content of the workshop. We do have some minutes left for any Q&A. So feel free to unmute your mic, and you can also leave some questions in the chat. Feel free.
You're also welcome to unmute yourself.
If no one's gonna ask a question, can I ask a question related to like the career of software engineer, like not related to this topic?
Yeah, sure. I don't see why not.
So I was wondering like how good are you have to get like hired by like let's say Google company or Microsoft? Like how much let's just take lead code as like the example. Like how much do you have to do?
Okay, so my answer is not going to be like none of our answers will be completely representative because every company is different. From my experience, there's like a threshold of goodness you have to reach, and beyond that, it becomes less important. Like companies know they're taking on students, and they know that you're not going to be an expert at anything you come in for. They care more that you're interested and you're going to learn quickly. Like I will say that I cannot confidently solve anything better than a lead code easy, but I had a job at Microsoft last summer.
Okay.
So,
are you guys from Mac though, or different unis?
Yeah, we're all McMaster students.
Are you in school right now, or are you guys already graduated?
No,
I'm in school right now. I think we all are.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right, thank you.
Yeah. Just to add on that, I've actually interviewed with Google before, and I could not solve the problem. And then I swear the next week I went on LeetCode and I found like almost the exact copy of it on a LeetCode Easy. So I just should have practiced a bit more.
Okay.
Something to keep in mind. But
But you still get hired, right? I saw you wearing the Google shirt.
Oh no, this was my old coworkers gave me this. I did not work at Google, unfortunately. But it was a good experience for me.
Good luck to you.
Yeah.
You'll get in.
Thanks. Right. We'll see. But yeah, honestly, most companies care more about like your initiative to learn, and
all right, okay.
Maybe if you've done like some.
Can I ask what year are you guys in right now?
Yeah, so I'm studying computer engineering. This is technically my 5th year at McMaster, but I'm like in my last year.
You're doing co-op?
4th year. I actually spread out my degree, so it's like I took less courses per term. Like this term, I only have 3 courses, and it's honestly so nice.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm personally in 3rd year. Yeah.
Which
I'm doing biomedical and software engineering.
Oh, okay, that's kind of hard.
Not always the funnest.
What program are you
But
in?
it's
I'm in Inch 1 freshman. So
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Just looking to gain some, get hired, because my brother literally just graduated like this year and he hasn't found a job.
Kind of tough, especially with COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's like a good coder. I think he can finish like lead code mid-level kind of question, but he haven't got a job yet. So.
Yeah, that's okay.
Honestly, a lot of it is also luck. Like it's putting yourself out there and hoping something sticks. Like honestly, network. It makes such a huge difference. Like the people you know matter at least as much as the things you know. And knowing the right people will get you so far.
All right. Do you guys have like any recommendations when it terms to learning how to code? Like what books should we read? Like or what websites? Such.
Honestly, just like we mentioned hackathons, right? We've seen like a lot of beginners actually go to hackathons and they don't know how to code, but during just that weekend, they pick up a language. Like it's that easy. If you go to a hackathon, like you'll find teammates that are willing to help you, and also mentors.
How do I spell that? Hackathon?
Hackathons.
I can type.
You can actually we'll post the link to the all the hackathons that are coming up.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one great way. And then if you just want to like learn something, you just like find there's tons of YouTube videos. If you just want to make something, like just get started on like using the
All right.
any web dev frameworks or like whatever you're interested in, just look up on YouTube. Like tons
Yeah,
of
YouTube. I find like this, like I don't know. YouTube is just better than watching lectures.
yeah.
Honestly, I think the thing a lot of the times that I find is helpful is if there's something you want to learn, just find a project that will help you learn it. Because I know in first year I was like, I want to learn React, so I decided to make my website in React just to learn it. It gives you motivation to do it, and you can pretty much start from ground zero. Like you can even find a project that someone's already done before and try to replicate it just to help you pick up that skill.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Are there any more questions? Actually, I think first we can continue. We can stay on a bit more in chat. But Shardul, could you share that last slide? I think you're still sharing the screen, right?
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. So just as a conclusion, yeah, this was our very first workshop. From the McMaster DSC, and be sure to look out for other upcoming workshops. You can follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn. We also have Instagram as well, if you search under DSC McMaster U. And you are going to be emailed a feedback form after this, and also you're going to be emailed a link to the recording. Yeah, so yeah, thank you very much for coming. Yeah, to our very first workshop, and we hope to see you guys again soon. We'll stay on for a couple minutes if there's any more questions. But yeah, thank you very much.
If you guys